Welcome to the Just Do It podcast, hosted by Ann Duffy. Dental Entrepreneur Women is here to dive deep and share stories with the mission to inspire, highlight, empower, and connect all women in dentistry.
Hello, everyone. It's Ann Duffy, and welcome to the Just Do It podcast. I'm so happy. I have a new friend and a wonderful guest for you today, Miss Tiffany Wuebben. That's such a pretty name. And it's so nice to see you. I just love being in your company. We met a while back and it's just been so fun. We laughed that we're sisters of different mothers. So it's pretty cool.
This is so amazing. And thank you so much. And DeW has been like a warm hug from the beginning. And that's from you. So thank you so much for the community. And thank you so much for all that you're doing out there and just really elevating everyone and always so positive and just operating with so much joy. I appreciate you. And thank you for having me on today.
It is my pleasure, and we will spread some hugs around. But before we get started, let me tell our listeners a little bit about you. As the founder and CEO of The Hygienepreneur, Tiffany Wuebben, RDH, is a published author and speaker. She's dedicated to serving the dental community in a very big way. Tiffany's influence empowers the dental team to prepare with an ownership attitude, which leads to better clinical outcomes, higher case acceptance, and more productivity for the practice. Her book, Hygienepreneur, The Dental Hygienist's Guide to Achieving Career Success and Personal Transformation, outlines 25 key lessons for becoming the ultimate dental hygienist, one who provides the highest level of patient care, contributes significantly to practice revenue, and gains new insights into mastering their destiny. Welcome, Tiffany. Here we go.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, it's so fun because we're both hygienists. Of course, I've been doing it longer than you, and I retired after 46 years. And when I read your bio, it just kind of gives me chills. It's like, where were you when I was doing hygiene and in the trenches and young and wondering what the heck did I get myself into and how to make my career just really soar? I had a great career in hygiene, but I attribute a lot of that to stepping out of the op and not necessarily in the op, even though I love the clinical side of it, the profession, the patients, and the docs that I work for. But you're so passionate about serving the dental community. Where does that come from?
You know, as a single mother for 20 years, and, I started in practice management and was really married to the practice because as an office manager, we couldn't leave. We couldn't have all of those little bit of freedoms to get out. We were check in, check out the last patient, and stay until it's all done. And so I was struggling, single parent, doing everything on my own. And when I decided to go to hygiene school and I got that license, it was like a license for freedom. And of course, we work really hard as hygienists. We are super providers, and that's where the cover of the book comes from. It's about hygienists really elevating the practice in a big way. And as a practice manager, I saw that in our hygienists. I saw that drive and that passion to serve the patient and the practice. And it always really impressed me. And so I had always known how to build a practice from the front. When I got into the operatory, I discovered very quickly how I could build a practice from my little operatory and do it in a way that I served generations of patients and I gained the lifetime patient and build that practice through the power of hygiene. And it saved me. It was exciting. I felt renewed, and boy, it was just wonderful.
And here you are. Well, first of all, kudos to you. You've got 2 kids. Were you still working and then going to school at night? How did that all work? Did you have to take a little bit of a leave, I guess, to do your hygiene education?
So my doctor, I was so thankful. He let me still be involved with the practice on Fridays. So we had hygiene school Monday through Thursday. And then when we got into that first quarter, the directors of the hygiene school were like, you're going to need to quit. And I said, I can't afford it. I've got a house payment. I have 2 small children. It's not like I have, a lot of financial support or anything. I was just doing my student loan thing, borrowing money and saying, I guess I'll be able to pay it back somehow. And of course, when I graduated, I was the first one working out of my class. I got my license at 2 a.m. It posted, and I was working at 7:45 at a practice that same morning because I had to work. And
Wow.
so that drive and that passion was really to take care of my family, to take care of my children. And I was so excited that with that hygiene license, I was able to provide for my children, work hard, make a nice living, and then also take time off for their baseball and softball games and volunteering at their school. Hygiene allowed me to do all of that. So
Yeah.
that's why I have so much love for the dental industry, for hygiene, and really making sure that our community is served because for years it's been serving me.
Okay. So who was the doctor that you were the office manager for?
Dr. Nash,
Oh,
yeah,
Dr. Nash.
he's in Temecula, California,
Oh,
and Guy Nash. And so I did all my prereqs at night and, took care of his practice. And I would take care of that last patient and then hustle down to San Diego to whatever community college. I actually went to 3 community colleges at night and on weekends and did some online courses to get the prereqs done.
The prereqs. Wow.
And so that took me a while because I had to work full time and then I had the children full time. And then when that got done, my sister had graduated before me from hygiene school. And she said, this is the best. It's a fast track system. You can get in, get yourself done. And my whole goal was to get out and work so I could provide for my kids, myself and my children. And so I got in, thankfully, the first time and I loved it. It was the hardest thing I ever did.
Yeah.
I always joke. I said, I'd rather go through a divorce again than hygiene school.
That's why we say women in dentistry are so smart. You cannot get through hygiene or dental school without being smart, organized, and executing the job at hand. And the same thing with assistants and office managers. As you know, I don't know which is harder though, hygiene or office managing. I mean, I get kudos out to the office manager who the first one there and the last one to leave every day. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
And when we see 8 to 10 patients a day, they see like 90. So I just love our front office providers. I say all of us are dental providers, especially when I'm out there and training offices and things. I'm like, it takes all of us. We're a team. We're all dental providers. And we have to really be thankful for our front office team because, gosh, we see our patients, but then they're answering the phone, checking in and out, and handling so many things.
It's like so many things, and they could keep it all right here. And, that's such a neat thing that you've had that experience and then hygiene. And most hygienists that have gone through office manager first or assisting have a great love for the team. There's one thing to know the team, is another thing to be in the trenches with the team.
Totally.
And, to really know. And I think that gives you even a broader scope of what it takes to have a great practice and be profitable.
So
I think that's super for your consulting. Well, I was reading the article. And so if you're listening to this, I hope that you will read the article that is coming out in our spring edition of Do Life that Tiffany wrote for us. And you subbed in like 100 offices. Tell me about that, because that's going to lay the foundation for your book that we're going to talk about.
Yes. In order for me to really write a good book that is packed with not just one office experience, I said I had to temp and really gain the knowledge, the good things, and maybe see the not so good things in our industry in many different demographics, many different types of practices owned by male, female dentists, groups, older demographic patients, peds, all of that. And so it was over 100 offices. And at first, my doctor, he was like, what are you doing? You're already working 3/11s. I would work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. And I said, yeah, but I need to do this. And then he was like, you know what? You're right. Brilliant. Good job. And so there's a lot of things in my book where I'm like, this was the best pearl that I found in practice. And I would bring it back to our office and say, we've got to be doing this. Or I would notice maybe that the doctor would steamroll me when I was trying to do a handoff. And I'm like, oh, well, that wasn't good. Okay. And I would see that in a lot of different practices. And it was just because the doctor didn't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he was trying to do that. It was just he hadn't been trained. But it's interesting how many doctors sat back and said, okay, what are you doing here? Because you're asking a lot of different questions that we normally don't get. I would say, oh, do you have a periodontal protocol that you'd like to present to me as your temp? And they'd say, what? And some would say, don't even perio chart. You're our guest hygienist. You don't have to do that. Don't worry. And I'm like, what? No, we have to serve the patient right. We've got to do that. So that's where the content came from. And my experiences in my practice, my practice management experiences way in the past, and then also temping and all those practices.
Oh my gosh, that is loaded with a lot of nuggets in there then, because it just speaks so much to your character though, Tiffany, because I mean, this is just the story. The thread is that no matter what, you do what it takes to get the job done. When they say, everybody wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die, you just actually went ahead and did it, because that is a richness that you can provide for everyone. I love the book. It's so fun. It's not only great nuggets and all that, but your personality's in there and the cover and all that good stuff.
Thank you.
One of the things in your bio too, I want to go back and I want to touch on. You talked about ownership attitude. Tell me a little bit about that, because I always took ownership when I worked in a dental practice.
So I don't know, Ann, maybe you could agree with me on this, but it might be the way we were raised. I'm not sure. I think I did have that entrepreneurial example from my parents a little bit, but they always said never do anything half job. And they always took an owner attitude in any job that they did and whatever it was. And so I think because I saw that, that just became ingrained in me that we don't do half work, operate with integrity. And yes, we act like we own that business because it matters. It's important, and I see that in you too. When we can act like we own something, even before we own it, but we act like we own it, you see the passion. You work harder to make sure it succeeds. Your patients are going to have a better experience because you're acting like you're the one writing the checks to pay for that laser. So you're going to make sure, for example, that laser is really well taken care of and put away correctly and
used more than once a year, right? I mean,
yes.
What also strikes me about that is like the dentist, you said earlier, they need to be trained. I think some of the docs I worked for weren't all that happy that I took so much ownership. That is the beauty of being in dental hygiene and having our schedule. We really run our schedule and we run a business within the practice.
Right.
And I think we want everyone in the office to take ownership for sure. But I think it's really pertinent for a dental hygienist to take ownership in what she's doing and how she is building the practice and that everybody wins. That's culture.
Yep.
That's the culture that you provide. I know when you're going in and
we train,
consulting.
Yes, we train and we support hygienists into building thriving hygiene practices within a practice. So just to your point, it's a business within the business. And actually that business, that hygiene practice within the practice elevates the overall practice and really carries it home. I mean, 75% of all diagnostics are out of the hygiene op. And we see the generations of families, the children, grandchildren, and then some. 46 years, Ann, for you. I'm practicing since 2005. And so we saw generations. We had those life patients, those lifers, and they don't come back unless they like their hygienist, right?
Well, and I think that it's true, the fact that that's what I really miss the most, I think, is the people. Yeah. Just the different stories. I always think hygienists are so smart because look at all the conversations we've had about every person in every walk of life, every gender, every age, all of that. We got to know them. And just through our conversations, I think we gained a great education.
Yeah.
I love that you're also going to be doing another book coming out that's going to follow up with The Hygienepreneur.
Yes.
And that's going to be coming out next year.
I just keep getting inspired and I keep writing. And so, it's interesting when you're creating something, you're a very creative person. And so you kind of don't want to give it up because you're still creating. And so I just figure when I feel good about it, and when my husband, John, says, okay, you're done, give it up, then we'll give it up. And then it'll get published.
Well, that's a great way to go because honestly, what you're doing too, so instead of working in the offices in hygiene, you're actually consulting and working in the practices. So then every time you go to a new practice, you're getting nuggets, things that some things are working and some things aren't working. And you're going to get some great tips and tricks for everybody going along. Now, I know you and John, we met you guys I met John at Savannah Nachos and
Savannah Grits and Nachos.
Yeah.
Rocket Conference.
It was a beautiful conference and they were such generous hosts. But then you told me about some kind of a barn you're building. And so you're a San Diego, California girl. You get married. I hear that you're celebrating an anniversary coming up like tomorrow. But tell me how that journey has gone, a little bit about what your goal is, the future of that, and how that's going to blend into Hygienepreneur.
So it's interesting, as I've developed into being a speaker, going out and sharing all about the book and all of the strategies to really be successful and build a wonderful, thriving hygiene department that isn't so stressful. Because that's the big thing, is I saw too many of my friends being stressed and dentists being stressed. And so when I go out and speak on all of these topics, I'm seeing the meetings that are happening. So I got a little inspired, and I said to my new husband, because we've only been married now 2 years, I said, John, what do you think about us having our own event center and doing our own thing? And he was like, absolutely, let's do it. And so we started looking for property in San Diego to do this. And we just found that it would be too difficult. It's just harder to do things in California. And so I have family in Tennessee, and we've been visiting for 6 years, every couple of months, my mom and my sister. They love it in Tennessee, and we grew to love it. And the community, all the people. Yeah, we bought almost 17 acres in the country right outside of Nashville. The barn is almost finished. So we're going to have a barn event center, and we're going to have hygiene hoedowns and dental dude ranch retreats, and 2 little mini Highland cows will be on the property, and some horses, and hoping to give people a really nice experience, just to, yes, have action steps on Monday after they come to the meetings and really learn some valuable tips, but also to give them a place to relax and to really connect with others and listen to some great music, have some good barbecue, and just,
Make it fun. What are a couple tips if you're a hygienist here and you're listening to this? What would you say to a hygienist that's just embarking on their career? What should they be looking for on their career path?
Yeah. And I get that question all the time. I speak at hygiene schools to the classes that are just going to be graduating, so the senior class. And a lot of them will come up to me and say, yes, I want to be a hygienist, but I think I might want to branch out to other areas. And I say, well, you just think about what your passions are, and then you can just ask people around you to mentor and to help, and then let the community elevate you, because that's what happened to me. I found a passion in making sure that providers were operating with less stress. And I wanted the triple winning scenario to happen for, the practice and the patient. And I wanted, as a hygienist who was a single mother forever, I wanted my hygiene friends to do well financially, emotionally. That's where my drive was, to really incorporate systems and operations and have a consulting company. But sometimes I'll sit back and brainstorm with people and say, okay, well, where's your passion lie? How were you raised? How were you influenced? Who are your influencers? Who do you gravitate towards? Everybody's different, but there's a place for all of us in all these different areas. The dental industry is huge. Sales, you can go into, of course, speaking on topics,
consulting.
Yes.
It's really the sky's the limit. And I think that's part of what your book does. It gives you hope that this is not just a flash in the pan career. This is a long lasting career that you can have.
Yes.
And you can be fulfilled. And you have to look for those opportunities. Just like we say with the DEW, look for opportunities. That's principle number 1, that build on your strengths. Yes. What do you do well? And then look for those opportunities, and then ask for help. And your community will help. The dental community is very generous, and it's a relationship community. So you just got to find people and give first and ask second, and it'll all come their way.
And just keep enhancing leadership and empowerment. Keep enhancing to be you, be unique. So I'll tell people, don't be afraid. You don't have to be like anybody else. You can be yourself, and you will be embraced. It's okay.
Yeah. And, I think the other thing that you just mentioned, I want to just touch on, there is something about going to meetings, finding your community, finding your tribe. That's the thing about with DEW, we're here for you, and there's all like-minded people here. So find that community that really helps lift you up and gives you an opportunity to lift your neighbor up or your sister up or we love the men too, because I love the dude ranch because, we have dudes. I don't know what John's number is. I'm going to ask him when I see him, because we have dudes, but all the guys are dudes because everybody wants to be part of the dude community. I'm like, you guys, you're a dude. So I asked John when you talked to him tonight what his number is in the dude arena. We're up to 103, I think. So he's somewhere probably around, I think when I met him, he's probably around 80 something. So see what he says.
And when we go to these meetings, we like to have fun. And John is a great dancer. And it's kind of now been expected of us when we go to these meetings. They're like, you're going to dance, right? And oh, okay, we're doing that, And
Oh
so
my gosh. What's your best dance?
John leads because he's the dancer.
Okay.
And his father is a professional ballroom dancer. His brother is Broadway dancer. His other brother is hip hop. And John is a mix.
Wow.
He can dance just anything.
The other thing, you must be a very good follower because I am the worst. Like, I want to dance with John, and the next time I see him, see if I can
Okay.
follow him, because usually I take over the lead and it's disastrous. So I love that. We'll see
Oh
how
my
that
gosh.
goes.
He dances with so many ladies. They'll go, can I dance with them? I'm like,
Go.
fun,
Oh.
And so, yeah, he spins them all over. I go, don't you throw her on be careful. She's got heels on.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
Yeah.
You guys just go dancing tomorrow night when you celebrate your anniversary and have the best time. And Tiffany, how do we get in touch with you after this podcast?
So my email is tiffany@thehygienepreneur.com. But the hygienepreneur.com website, my phone number's on there, everything. And I'm just loving this. And I just really appreciate you and the time and the nice chat. It's always so wonderful talking to you.
You make it fun. You're easy to talk to. And I think we did pretty well today. We had a great conversation.
Yes,
and I
we
can't
did.
wait to see you and follow your career as the hygienepreneur, which you really are. And you're making a difference in this world. So thank you, Tiffany, for being with me today.
Thank you,
And,
Ann. I
you're
love you.
welcome.
Hugs.
I love you. Hugs, hugs, hugs.
Virtual hugs.
And remember, if you're listening to us, the most important thing for you to do is keep doing you. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Tiffany. I'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Just Do It podcast, hosted by Ann Duffy. To learn more about dental entrepreneur women, to share your story, or to join the movement, please visit our website, dew.life. That is DEW.life. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app to make sure you don't miss an episode. And in the meantime, keep doing you.